Hi everyone, how are you today? I've just finished doing the first two live videos for the new groups that I've created for pilots and for engineers using the success I'm loving of this particular group moving forward in pioneering the way. If you'd like to be a part, if you're an engineer or you have engineering background or you just love engineering, or same with pilot, you're an aviation enthusiast or an aviation engineer perhaps or something like that, please do reach out and I'll join you into those groups as well. And it should be some really fun times ahead. Now, today's one, I wanted to do a talk on raising standards. Thank you, honey, for letting me know. This sounds great. Always appreciate it. Love you. Today's one I wanted to do for the group is how to raise our standards, especially when it comes to, well, it kind of goes in hand with ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, our health, and our social circle all at the same time. And the consequence of that is the ability to raise our business, our professional resources, and those sorts of things. But it starts with ourselves, right? And what I mean by that is, if you are not looking after yourself, you are not trying to take care of yourself, you're not eating healthy, you're putting just crap food into yourself, you're wearing really crappy clothes, you're not really caring about how people, how you're presenting yourself to people, then most likely you're going to attract a lot of people that are just going to walk all over you, right? And I actually know this to be true because there was a time in my life that I did that same thing. I was eating crap food, I was dressing poorly at the time, and it was no wonder that I got friend zoned by particular people that I just felt like I was completely walked over for many, many years. And especially when I was still living with my parents, I could never understand why I always had to wear raggy clothes type of thing. But looking back now, I'm able to see that the lack of care as to whether or not I was wearing presentable clothing was their way of trying to degrade me and to keep my standards really low for myself so that they could make use of me for the long term. All right. If I was really happy with myself, they'd cut me down. And so I developed this resistance to the idea of feeling excited or extra happy or wanting to put myself out there. Or again, the fear of the camera. I could never go in front of the camera up until a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, because of those induced experiences that really were quite cruel. But they were indicative of when I started to increase my standards. It also explains why they really targeted me for abuse, because they didn't want me resisting against their control. And you will find that across the board. If you really increase your standards more and more and more, there will be people that will come out of the woodwork that you thought had your back, but they're actually there to basically be their measuring stick. If you're doing shit, then they feel great and they give themselves permission not to try nearly as hard. And this is why so many people have toxic relationships as well. If you have a toxic relationship with yourself, if you're being really mean to yourself, an inner critic, you're criticizing yourself all the time, then you're creating this energy about you that is very demeaning and degrading to yourself. And then you wonder why you've walked into a toxic relationship where they do it even worse and make you feel even worse, right? And they make you feel like it's your fault. Well, it's not your fault, but it is our responsibility. Absolutely anything that comes across us as a fault is our responsibility to fix. There is not one person and stuff that's going to fix it for you. And this is where And it may sound like I'm being quite harsh at the moment, but actually this information is very crucial in increasing your standards. All right? You need to know this stuff, because the guy down the street living 20 houses down there, he doesn't give a fuck if you increase your standards or not. Right? He's thinking about himself. All right? If you want your standards to improve, you need to improve your standards. Right? And as small as this group is, and as much as I'm loving this group, I've already cut 3 people out of this group to keep the standards high. All right? And one of the examples I will use in that is they reached out to me to see if I would buy the DRUGS online through them. And that was a no-go. I'm not trying to attract anything like that, and I do not want to keep that around me. So I cut and blocked them on all their accounts that I could find to keep our standards high, because I'm pretty sure no one else in this group ever wants to experience that type of crap either. The group here is for higher standards of living. I'm helping you and guiding you towards a $3 million type home, $10 million type liquid asset lifestyle, right? And the social circle and relationships and relationship with yourself and health to support that. And that type of behavior that I cut that person out for, right, is just not part of it. They're not going to get to where they want to go with that type of behavior. There are other people that I'm aware of that have a problem with substances, but they're trying to get away from. That's a very different story. This other person was trying to peddle their things to me. I don't want that. And I don't want them doing that to anyone else in the group. Right? But I will absolutely be here for those ones that are trying to help themselves. And to help themselves create the better lifestyle for themselves, their relationship with themselves and their family and the ones that they care about. Okay? We're not going to be able to save everyone in our lives. We have to recognize that as well. And when we can see that there are particular people around us in our lives, in our social circle, that do not want our help, those people that you try to give your help, your advice, your absolute best advice, and they do the exact opposite, they're not going to be increasing their skills or improving their lifestyle anytime soon. And the sooner you cut them off and make them wonder why and create the questions in their minds, the better off you and they will be. Because that doesn't mean to say that they could completely reevaluate their life from that experience, losing the value that is you from their life, and make them think, hold on, maybe they were trying to help me, like, genuinely get better. You know, that's the result we're after with our friends and associates, is to make them question, can I do better? Make ourselves question, can I do better? I've created this entire group and the other 2 NFN engineers and pilots groups for this exact reason. I don't have to help anyone if I don't want to. I love and care about people as a rule, and would like to see as many as people as possible rise up and join us as we get to where we're going. But I also know that I cannot help everyone. There's only a select few that actually would like to attain these things. I can't help a person that wants to stay homeless create the type of lifestyle I'm trying to help people create. I can help a person who's homeless, who wants better for themselves to get to where they'd like to go, if they want the help. All right? And this is where it's really important to keep our standards high, because the more people we can actually help ourselves get to these levels and beyond, the more we're actually going to have a chance of inspiring more people around us, and may even inspire the ones we cut off to do better for themselves, right? But if they think they're going to get a free handout at every single turn and every single twist, every time you make $1 million, they're going to come up to you and borrow 10 grand, whatever, every time, just because they think, oh, you're friends. No. There has to be some sort of progress in their life that you can see, that they can demonstrate. Right? That's not fake. There has to be some sort of progress in the people that we keep around us if we want to attain these levels. And you don't have to attain these levels if you don't want to. You can, if you want to keep exactly where you are and you're happy at that level, fine, that's completely up to you. But this group is designed to help as many people get to the levels I've outlined. Right? And if they want advanced assistance, then they can engage with me one-on-one for the advanced coaching and stuff at every level, especially all the way. Like once they finish freedom level, it's up their choice whether they do adventure level, where they can do expeditions with us. It's their choice if they want to come across to the pioneering level. You don't have to do any of these. You don't even have to participate in the group. All I ask is that you respect the people that do want these things to get to where they'd like, and actually help support their growth, celebrate their growth, and learn how not to be jealous of other people's growth. Everyone is doing a different life experience. Your life experience is going to be completely different to my life experience. My wife's life experience is going to be completely different to my life's experience. But the point is, if we all learn from each other and we keep our standards high to learn from each other, then we're going to go further, faster, stronger. Whereas if we keep our standards low, then we're going to be pulled down into petty drama, all sorts of bullshit, backstabbing, jealousy, infighting, and all sorts of crap no one wants except the normals. Which is why I called my coaching NFN coaching, not for normals. I don't want the normals in here. They are so petty, they don't think past a week, they can't think most of the time past 20 seconds above their eyes, right? And that's just what we've found to be true, okay? If the normals all of a sudden want to change that, then I'll redefine my definition of normals. I'm looking for people that essentially want better lifestyles for themselves, their partners, and for their kids, and for their future and their legacy. So to keep our standards high, we have to keep refining what our social circle is made of until we get to the position we would like to stay at. So if you get to the particular point in lifestyle that you have $50 million of resources and assets and everything, and you're quite comfortable at that level, then you don't have to progress further than that if you don't want to. You may find comfort at the $3 million level, at, something like that. But not many people are going to realize true comfort below those levels because of the way inflation is going, the way the economies are going, and the way the world is just getting fucked up beyond belief as we go. Which I'm also trying to help fix with my robotics programs that I'm also creating at the same time. The robotics I'm creating is to help clean up the waterways and everything else, but that's a subject for a different day. But the idea of this entire particular live vid is to increase our standards. One last example I will leave you with directly is that we do a lot of babysitting for our friend, right? But more so for their kids. Their kids have real potential to do some really cool things in their future. And we're trying to help break the toxic cycles and stuff in that household from becoming a problem for them later. Now, in their home, their house is a mess. Everything is on the floor. It's an absolute mess. Like you can walk through their house and you can literally hear mice rummaging through the bin and whatnot. I'm not going to go further into detail, right? But over there, and there's no healthy food over there almost at all. But they stay with us for weeks on end, and their rooms are clean and tidy. They speak to us with respect. They have a great time, and they allow themselves to be creatively themselves. Whereas over there, they are scared to speak. It's a very big difference. And the mum's always wondering why it is that our house is staying nice and tidy and clean all the time, and their place is not. Well, that's because the standards she keeps for herself is reflected in what she allows in the rest of the house. Whereas over here, they keep their rooms and their everything else tidy. We very rarely have to pick up a cup or I mean, this morning I found a glass in one room and I found a paddle pop stick in the other, and that's the maximum. Like, that's all the mess that was in each room. That's a high level of standard that they've understood and kept really good. They're kids. We're not pushy about it. They do that themselves for the most part. They'll even help us pick up shit off the floor when we need to do a vacuum if there's toys and stuff in the way. But they will not do that at home. They'll only do it with threat of violence because it's just a toxic environment over there. But we do the best we can. We cannot change her. We can only show the kids a better example as to showing by example, really. So, yeah. So, increasing our stand. I mean, if it wasn't for the kids the way that they are, we would have cut her off entirely a long time ago. You know, if the kids weren't showing us respect in the way that we have requested from the beginning, without having to go like be naggy about it at all, then again we probably would have cut them off a long time ago. But because the kids showed respect, love, and care about the way that they'd like to be, then we respect that too, and it all works beautifully. So yeah, so keeping our standards high, it starts with ourselves. We need to be giving ourselves healthy foods. We can have days where we have a couple of chocolates here and there. None of us are perfect. Even I've done that. That's why I had the couple of kilos I needed to take off that I'm doing at the moment. Right? But most of the time, 90% of our food is vegetables. 95% of our food is 95% of our food is vegetables. 90% of our food is vegetables, 5% of our food is meat, and 5% of our food is fruit. Right? With a bit of leeway for like 1% of other crap that sometimes sneaks in. Okay, no one's perfect, but we are working on those standards as well. There's only like 2 or 3 packaged foods allowed in this house whatsoever, and that's mostly for the kids because we're still trying to help them with that too. So yeah. So increasing our standards is absolutely crucial the more we go further and further up the ladder. Some of that, you need to really ask particular questions of yourself more than anything else when it comes to our social circle. One of those questions is, do I actually enjoy spending time with this person or this household? Because if the question's no, or I'm not quite sure if I enjoyed spending time with that person in that place, well, it's a good idea to start either evaluating better or working out or paying more attention when you do interact with them to work out whether there's something there or whether you're supposed to learn from them. Because some people are there just to learn from. You know, they will reflect back to you exactly our own weaknesses, our own quandaries, all right, and things to evaluate. My wife and I, especially, if we're feeling a particular way, we'll go, okay, why are we reflecting this back to each other? What is it that we need to work on today so that we don't have this particular feeling tomorrow? And we'll do that. But when it comes to the social circle around us, it is a question of, do we actually enjoy spending time with this person? Do we see value in our encounters with this person? You know, because if the answer is no, or you're not sure, then I'd be very careful of those particular persons in the future, regardless of whether you're related to them or not. You know? So, yeah. Anyway, so that was my beginning intro on the subject of raising our standards, and it's going to be more and more important as you go up each level, especially when you get to the levels of wanting to do particularly property development, renovation flips, having to engage contractors, how to negotiate with contractors for particular projects, and this is globally, mind you. Because if those negotiations don't have particular standards, they will usually sink below them. Alright, most people are not very self-accountable. They're not very responsible. And another rule that I use, if I catch people blaming everyone around them for the crap that they've, that they could easily take responsibility for, then that's another red flag to me that I'm very, very careful of. And it's made us have to do some very tough evaluations of some persons when those types of ideas have slipped out. So, there's one particular person and stuff that we were so concerned of that we took the entire year to try and evaluate, are they staying with us or are they moving forward with us? And it's finally been determined that it looks like they're going to be moving forward with us. And we couldn't be more grateful, but like we didn't want to be held back by a lead weight either. It's a lot easier to climb a mountain when you're not carrying lead weights. So, if we help each other out and we go up the mountain a lot easier. One of us can carry snacks or something. That's much more helpful. Anyway, that's enough for me for today, and I will see you all tomorrow, and I hope you are having an amazing, great 2023 so far. Yeah, I reckon that's a good way to really start the year off properly. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.